Police brutality in the United States is a subject we have seen a lot over the past year, and more often than not, the victims of that brutality are African Americans or Latinos. Bianca Perez now with an update from Washington.
Advocates of civil rights and members of Congress united in Washington, D.C. to unveil a new bill that hopes to end racial profiling by police forces across the nation. These advocates hope that by ending this practice, the abuse of police power will consequently end.
Part of our efforts to deal with discrimination in our community is to make sure that we understand that our criminal justice system discriminates. And we have to acknowledge that.
The various cases of police brutality against communities of color that have been increasingly seen in the last year have led to a lack of trust from minority groups towards law enforcement officers. Experts feel that the deep history of racism in the U.S. is the root of these abusive practices.
The implicit bias that we internalize as a result of our culture and what we hear from our leaders and so many of the racist policies in this country, that's what usually initiates law enforcement to profile someone. And then you have the issue of the excessive use of force that is often accompanied by these interactions with law enforcement. And as we've seen in so many cases, that use of force is then justified because that racial profiling is seen as okay and acceptable.
During the last few months, the abuse of police power has not only been visible on the streets, but also in educational institutions. The majority of these victims, all of them minors, are either Latino or African American.
If there is to be a police presence in schools or some sort of security presence in schools, that could be made clear that is to promote the students' safety and not to police the students themselves. Because I think, especially when we think about police-community relations, it's oftentimes so important for members of the community to feel that the police are there to serve and protect them and not to monitor their behavior.
961 people in the U.S. have been killed thus far in 2015 in the hands of police. Of these, 232 were African American and 144 were Latino. Bianca Perez, teleSUR, Washington, D.C.